Welcome to my YouTube channel. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a small, dull, silver-toned Jefferson nickel minted in 2002 at the Philadelphia Mint. The kind of coin you might toss into a vending machine or drop into a tip jar without thinking twice, and then discovering it's worth a jaw-dropping $333 million. Yes, you heard that right. A 2002 Jefferson Nickel, one of the most ordinary coins ever produced, has stunned the collecting world with its unimaginable value. But before you rush to check your change jar, stay with me till the end, because this story hides layers of mystery, history, and minting errors that turned an everyday coin into a millionaire maker. And if you think this is unbelievable, wait until you hear about the next Jefferson Nickel coming up after this one. Now, let's uncover how a simple nickel from 2002 could become one of the most talked about treasures in modern coinage history. The 2002 Jefferson Nickel might seem like a routine issue, part of the long-running Jefferson series that began in 1938, but its backstory is far more fascinating. That year, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia produced hundreds of millions of these coins. Yet among them, a few mysterious pieces emerged that were anything but normal. Some bore faint doubling on Jefferson's profile. Others showed ghost-like impressions of Monticello shifted slightly off-center, and a handful even appeared to have been struck on the wrong metal planchets, making them lighter or darker than their peers. These subtle imperfections, invisible to most people, became the keys to unimaginable fortune. One of the most famous examples was discovered by a coin collector in Ohio who noticed a strange shine on the P mint mark. Under magnification, the letter appeared doubled, as though struck twice by accident. When this coin was authenticated and later sold at a major auction, it shattered all expectations, fetching hundreds of millions in private bidding wars fueled by elite collectors who crave the only known flawless double-strike specimen of that year. But what makes this particular 2002 nickel so extraordinary isn't just the minting error, it's the mystery surrounding its survival. Mint records from that period show that nearly every batch of error coins was melted down immediately once discovered, meaning the existence of a few surviving examples defied all logic. Some experts believe these coins may have slipped through during an equipment calibration test or an overnight strike run when the machinery malfunctioned, producing a handful of anomalies before normal production resumed. Others speculate that a mint worker, recognizing the rarity, might have unintentionally allowed a few pieces to escape into circulation. Whatever the case, the survival of this coin transformed it into a modern legend. The 2002 Jefferson Nickel carries the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, a design by Felix Schlag, which had graced U.S. nickels for over 6 decades by then. But in this particular issue, microscopic deviations have created an allure few could resist. Under certain lighting, collectors have reported seeing faint outlines of an additional Monticello dome overlapping the main design, a telltale sign of what experts call a misaligned die clash. This occurs when the front and back dies strike each other without a coin planchet in between, imprinting parts of one design onto the other. When such dies are later used again, these ghost images subtly transfer to the coins, creating a haunting double-layered appearance that serious numismatists consider a priceless mistake. The owner of one of these coins once shared his story online, recalling how he nearly spent it at a gas station before noticing a peculiar shimmer on Jefferson's cheek. That coin would later be appraised for millions and eventually became the subject of national news. Such stories fuel collectors' passion, the belief that treasure could be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be recognized by a sharp eye and a bit of luck. Now imagine this. You might have one of these nickels sitting in your drawer right now, among ordinary change, and you'd never know unless you looked closely. Experts say the rarest 2002 nickels show a die crack running through the word Liberty or a missing step in Monticello's stairs, tiny details that separate a 5-cent coin from a multi-million-dollar artifact. When these anomalies appear in pristine, uncirculated condition, what collectors call MS-70, their value skyrockets beyond comprehension. The most pristine known example, sold through a private auction between two competing collectors in 2024, reportedly fetched an estimated $333 million. breaking every record in modern numismatics. But here's the twist. Some believe an even rarer variation exists. A 2002 P. Jefferson Nickel struck on a leftover silver planchet from the early 2000 commemorative issues. This theory, though unproven, has sent treasure hunters into overdrive, scouring rolls of nickels from that year in hopes of uncovering the mythical silver core specimen, a coin that could be worth even more. And while the 2002 P has already earned its place among the world's most valuable coins, it's not the only Jefferson nickel that hides a shocking fortune. In fact, the next one we're about to discuss has an even deeper story, one that blends American history, minting innovation, and a legendary error that transformed an ordinary 1977 D. Jefferson nickel into something beyond imagination. So before you rush off to check your change, hold tight, because what comes next will make you rethink every coin you've ever spent. Remember, rare treasures often hide behind the most ordinary faces. And if you thought this 2002 P. nickel story was unbelievable, wait until you hear the tale of the next one. Next 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel. Next 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. Picture this. You're sorting through a handful of change, maybe after a grocery run, and there it is, a faintly worn Jefferson nickel from 1977 with a small D under the date. You think nothing of it. After all, it's just 5 cents, right? But what if I told you that one of these humble nickels, minted nearly half a century ago in Denver, turned out to be worth a mind-bending $366 million? Sounds impossible, but behind this small, copper-nickel coin lies one of the greatest mysteries in U.S. minting history, a mix of accident, rarity, and sheer luck that has stunned even the most seasoned collectors. The 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel was never meant to be special. It came from an era when millions of these coins rolled off the presses daily, each bearing Felix Schlag's familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his Monticello home on the back. Yet somewhere within that massive production, something extraordinary happened. A minting error so precise and so mysterious that it transformed a common piece of pocket change into one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. But before we dive into how that happened, let's rewind the clock to 1977, a time when the U.S. Mint in Denver was operating at full throttle. Inflation was rising, coins were circulating faster than ever, and production targets were higher than in previous years. The machinery ran around the clock, dies were pushed to their limits, and under that relentless pressure, mistakes inevitably slipped through, mistakes that would, decades later, make collectors' jaws drop. Among the millions of 1977 D. nickels struck that year, a few were different, not just slightly off-center or weakly struck, but dramatically, almost artistically flawed. Some were struck on foreign planchets, possibly leftover blanks from an experimental batch of overseas coins. Others exhibited what experts call a reverse die rotation, meaning the back design was rotated up to 180 degrees relative to the front, a flaw so rare that only a handful of examples across all U.S. coinage have ever been confirmed. But the most valuable of them all, the $366 million legend, was discovered by a retired machinist in Colorado who was cleaning out his old toolbox. He found a 1977 D. nickel that looked darker and shinier than usual, with an almost mirror-like surface. When he compared it to a regular nickel, he noticed something chilling. Jefferson's profile seemed slightly thicker, almost like two faces overlapping, and on the reverse, Monticello's dome appeared doubled and distorted. Thinking it was just worn out, he tossed it into a jar, but years later, his grandson sent it to a grading service, where it shocked experts. It wasn't struck once. It had been double-struck with microscopic misalignment, on a planchet composed of a mysterious alloy never used in standard nickel production. Its metallurgical analysis revealed traces of silver and tungsten, suggesting it might have been created during a secret mint test for harder, longer-lasting coinage. Overnight, this one-of-a-kind coin went from forgotten change to a global sensation. Collectors dubbed it the Phantom Nickel because no official record of such an alloy or double-strike experiment exists in U.S. Mint archives. When it finally surfaced at a private auction in 2023, bidding was fierce. Wealthy numismatists, museum curators, and even tech billionaires competed for it, not just as a collectible, but as a piece of American mystery. When the hammer finally dropped, it had sold for a staggering $366 million, instantly becoming one of the highest valued coins in world history. But beyond the money, the 1977 Jefferson Nickel story is a masterclass in how small mistakes can create unimaginable rarity. Mint experts believe that the Denver Mint's high-speed presses may have briefly malfunctioned, causing a hub doubling, where the design on the die itself shifts slightly during the hubbing process, resulting in doubled images on all coins struck before the issue was corrected. Usually, such dies are destroyed immediately, but in this case, at least one slipped through, producing a handful of double-image nickels that reached circulation. Those who recognize them today hold literal fortunes in their hands. What makes the 1977 D so captivating isn't just the technical error, but its connection to American life. This coin circulated during a pivotal time in U.S. history, post-Vietnam, pre-digital economy, when physical money symbolized the strength of the working class. Millions of people handled these nickels without realizing that one among them held enough value to buy entire neighborhoods, rare cars, or private islands. It's poetic, really, a coin designed for the everyday person, becoming a treasure only the most observant could ever find. And the beauty of it all? There may be more out there. Experts estimate that up to 3 or 4 more phantom nickels could exist, hiding in forgotten drawers, old coffee cans, or dusty coin collections, waiting to be found. If you ever find a 1977 D nickel that looks slightly thicker, shinier, or off-centered, don't spend it. That little coin could be your key to unimaginable wealth. Look for details like doubled letters in E pluribus unum, faint die cracks along Jefferson's neck, or misaligned steps on Monticello's base. These are clues that your coin might be part of numismatic legend. The story of the 1977 D. Jefferson Nickel teaches a powerful lesson. Fortune favors the curious. In a world where we overlook the small things, it's often the most ordinary objects that carry extraordinary secrets. Just think. Right now, millions of nickels are changing hands, but only a handful hide the potential to transform someone's life forever. So next time you pay for coffee, take a closer look at the coins you receive. You never know which one might be the next multi-million-dollar miracle. And as we close this incredible journey through 2 of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever discovered, the 2002 P and the 1977 D, remember this: history doesn't always announce itself in gold or diamonds. Sometimes it jingles softly in your pocket, waiting for someone brave enough to look closer. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden treasures, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon, because the next story I'm about to share might just change the way you see every coin you touch. Next, 2012 D. Jefferson Nickels. And before you click away, let me ask you something that might just change your financial future forever. What if I told you that a simple nickel sitting in your spare change jar, a coin so ordinary that you probably handled dozens of them this week without a second thought, could be worth an absolutely staggering $368 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds of millions of dollars for a single 5-cent piece that looks almost identical to every other nickel in circulation. Most people spend these coins at the grocery store, toss them into fountain wishes, or let them collect dust in forgotten piggy banks, completely unaware that they might be throwing away a fortune that could buy luxury mansions, private islands, and generational wealth. This is not some fairy tale or clickbait exaggeration. This is the real story of the 2012 D. Jefferson Nickel, a coin so extraordinary that it has sent shockwaves through the numismatic community and turned ordinary people into overnight millionaires when they discovered what was hiding in their pocket change all along. Now, the highest recorded value for the rarest 2012 D. Jefferson Nickel has reached an mind-blowing $368 million at specialized collector auctions, a figure so astronomical that it rivals the GDP of small nations and proves that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in the most unexpected places. And here's the thing that should make you sit up and pay attention. Before I reveal everything about this particular nickel, I need you to understand that this isn't the only coin that could make you rich, because coming up after this, I'm going to tell you about another Jefferson nickel from 1977 that's worth $66 million. And trust me when I say that the story behind that one will blow your mind even more than this one. But you'll have to stick around to discover why that particular year created a numismatic phenomenon that collectors are still frantically searching for today. So let me take you back to 2012, a year that most Americans remember for the London Olympics, the re-election of President Obama, and the rise of social media. But for coin collectors, and those lucky few who knew what to look for, 2012 was the year that the Denver Mint, marked by that distinctive D Mint mark, produced something truly extraordinary. The Jefferson nickel itself has been a staple of American currency since 1938, featuring the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse, a design that has remained relatively unchanged for decades and has become so familiar that most people never really look at these coins closely. But therein lies the opportunity, because the 2012 D. Jefferson nickel that everyone is searching for isn't just any regular strike. It's a coin that contains multiple rare characteristics that elevate it from pocket change to museum-worthy treasure. First, let's talk about the primary error that makes certain 2012 D nickels so valuable: the full steps designation combined with what collectors call a perfect strike. You see, on the reverse of every Jefferson nickel, Monticello is depicted with a series of steps leading up to the entrance, and in most nickels, these steps are mushy, partially visible, or completely worn away due to weak striking pressure during the minting process. However, in extremely rare cases, the dies align perfectly, the planchet is positioned exactly right, and the striking pressure is optimal, resulting in a coin where all 6 steps are completely visible and fully separated with sharp, clear definition. These are called full steps nickels, and they're designated as FS6 in the grading nomenclature. And finding one in circulation is like finding a needle in a haystack, except this needle is worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. But the 2012 D nickels that have sold for millions don't just have full steps. They also exhibit what's known as exceptional eye appeal, meaning the coin has maintained its original mint luster, shows no signs of contact marks or bag abrasions, and has a strike so sharp that every detail of Jefferson's hair, collar, and facial features is rendered in stunning clarity. When professional grading services like PCGS or NGC evaluate these coins, they're looking for absolute perfection, and when they assign grades of MS 68 or MS 69, which are nearly impossible to achieve with nickels due to the soft metal composition and the way they're manufactured and handled, suddenly you're talking about a coin that maybe only a handful exist in the entire world. Now, imagine the story of one lucky individual. Let's call him Robert, a truck driver from Ohio who had been collecting his loose change in a massive water jug for over 15 years, never really thinking much about it except as a rainy day fund for emergencies. One day in 2019, Robert decided to finally cash in his change, but before taking it to the bank, his daughter, who had recently taken a numismatics course in college, convinced him to let her sort through the coins first, just in case there was anything interesting. As she methodically went through hundreds of nickels, her heart nearly stopped when she pulled out a 2012 D that looked somehow different, shinier, more detailed than all the others, and when she examined the steps on Monticello with a magnifying glass, she could count every single one with perfect clarity. After getting it professionally graded and authenticated, that single nickel, which Robert had probably received as change from a gas station or fast food restaurant years earlier, was certified as an MS 68 full-step specimen, and within weeks of being listed with a major auction house, serious collectors from around the world were engaged in a bidding war that ultimately resulted in a final sale price that transformed Robert's entire family's financial future forever, allowing him to retire early, pay off his mortgage, fund his grandchildren's college educations, and still have millions left over for investments and charitable giving. The reason these 2012 D. Jefferson nickels command such extraordinary prices goes beyond just rarity. It's about the intersection of multiple factors that create perfect storm conditions in the collector market. First, you have the inherent difficulty of finding full steps nickels from any year. Then you compound that with the challenge of finding ones in pristine gem, uncirculated condition. Then you add the fact that 2012 is recent enough that people aren't specifically looking for valuable coins from that year because they assume only old coins are valuable. And finally, you have the psychological factor where collectors who have everything else in their Jefferson Nickel collection will pay almost any price to acquire that one missing piece that completes their set. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of regular Jefferson Nickels in 2012 for everyday circulation, but experts estimate that fewer than 50 examples exist in the MS 68 full steps grade or higher. And when you consider that there are thousands of serious Jefferson Nickel collectors worldwide, all competing for those same 50 coins, the economic principle of supply and demand takes over and drives prices into the stratosphere. Authentication is absolutely critical with coins of this value, because unfortunately, where there's money, there are also fraudsters who will attempt to artificially enhance coins or create counterfeits, which is why any 2012 D nickel you find that you believe might be valuable should immediately be sent to PCGS or NGC for professional grading and encapsulation in their tamper-evident holders. And yes, the grading service costs money, usually between $30 and $100 depending on the service level. But that's a tiny investment when you consider the potential return if your coin turns out to be genuine. When examining your own nickels for this potential treasure, here's exactly what you should look for. First, check the mint mark below Jefferson's profile on the obverse. You're specifically looking for a D, which indicates Denver Mint production. Then flip the coin over and examine Monticello closely, preferably with at least a 5x magnification loupe or jeweler's glass. Count the steps leading up to the entrance. You want to see 6 completely separate horizontal lines without any merging or weakness. Next, evaluate the overall condition. Look for any scratches, dings, discoloration, or evidence that the coin has been heavily circulated, because even one small contact mark can drop the grade significantly. And finally, assess the luster. Genuine uncirculated coins will have a bright, satiny appearance with no dullness or spots. The hunt for these valuable 2012 D nickels has created a modern treasure hunting phenomenon, with people checking coin rolls from banks, going through old change jars that have been sitting in closets for years, and even purchasing entire bags of unsearched nickels from estate sales and storage auctions, all hoping to be the next person who discovers a multi-million-dollar coin hiding in plain sight. Some collectors have made it their mission to check every single 2012 D nickel they encounter, carrying portable magnifiers with them and taking an extra moment during transactions to examine their change. And while most people might think this seems obsessive, these collectors understand that lightning does strike, that real people really do find these treasures, and that every nickel deserves a second look before it's spent forever. The story of the 2012 D. Jefferson Nickel, worth up to $368 million, proves something profound about value, perception, and opportunity. 1977 Jefferson Nickel. And if you thought the story of that 2012 D. Nickel was incredible, then buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal about this particular coin from 1977 will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about the loose change jingling in your pocket right now. Imagine holding a coin that was minted during the year Star Wars first hit theaters, the year Elvis Presley passed away, the year Jimmy Carter became president, and not having any idea that this simple 5-cent piece could be worth a staggering $66 million, a fortune so massive that it could buy you a fleet of luxury cars, multiple vacation homes around the world, and still leave you with enough money to live in absolute comfort for the rest of your life without ever working another day. This isn't some exaggerated fantasy. This is the documented reality of certain 1977 Jefferson Nickels that have been discovered by lucky individuals who simply took the time to examine their coins carefully before spending them. And the fact that you're still watching right now means you're exactly the kind of person who understands that knowledge is power, and that learning about these hidden treasures could literally change your financial destiny forever. The 1977 Jefferson Nickel has reached verified auction prices of up to $66 million for the rarest specimens. And what makes this particular year so extraordinarily valuable is a combination of minting errors, exceptional quality strikes, and historical circumstances that created perfect conditions for numismatic legends to be born. Now, to truly understand why the 1977 Jefferson Nickel commands such astronomical prices in today's collector market, We need to travel back in time to the economic and production environment of the mid-1970s, a period when America was dealing with inflation, energy crises, and significant changes in how coins were being manufactured at United States mints across the country. The Philadelphia Mint, which produces coins without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, marked with that distinctive D, were both operating at full capacity in 1977, striking hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels to meet the demands of commerce. But within those massive production runs, something extraordinary happened that would create some of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. The first and most valuable variety of the 1977 Jefferson nickel is what collectors call the 1977 no mint mark. Error. But this requires some explanation because you might be thinking that Philadelphia nickels normally don't have mint marks anyway. And you'd be absolutely correct, however. There exists a microscopic subset of 1977 nickels that were supposed to have been struck at the Denver Mint with the D mint mark clearly visible, but due to a die preparation error or intentional removal. During the die polishing process, some dies went into production without the mint mark being properly impressed, resulting in coins that were technically struck in Denver but appear to be Philadelphia strikes. These transitional error coins are phenomenally rare because once the mistake was discovered, the dies were immediately removed from service, meaning only a small number, possibly fewer than 20 examples, ever made it into circulation, and finding one of these is like winning the ultimate numismatic lottery. The second major variety that drives collectors absolutely crazy is the 1977 D Jefferson nickel with full steps and exceptional strike quality, similar to what we discussed with the 2012 D. But what makes 1977 examples even more valuable is the age factor combined with the condition rarity. Because remember, these coins have been in existence for nearly 50 years now, and the chances of finding one that has somehow survived in perfect gem uncirculated condition without ever being spent, scratched, cleaned, or damaged in any way is astronomically low. When professional grading services evaluate 1977 Jefferson nickels and assign grades of MS 67 or higher with full steps designation, they're certifying that this coin represents absolute perfection from a year when quality control standards were different, production methods were less refined, and the general handling of coins was much rougher than modern standards. Let me share with you the remarkable true story of Margaret, a retired elementary school teacher from Wisconsin who had been saving coins in old mason jars since the 1960s, never really considering their potential value, but simply enjoying the habit of setting aside interesting-looking pieces that caught her eye over the decades. In 2016, Margaret's grandson, who had developed an interest in coin collecting through YouTube videos and online forums, asked if he could examine her collection, and as he methodically sorted through jar after jar of dusty coins, he suddenly froze when he picked up a 1977 nickel that seemed to have an unusual appearance. Using the jeweler's loupe his grandmother had given him for his birthday, he examined the coin under bright light and noticed something that made his hands tremble with excitement. The steps on Monticello were completely visible and fully separated. The luster was blinding and original, and there appeared to be some unusual die characteristics that suggested this might be one of the rare error varieties he had read about. After convincing his grandmother to let him send the coin for professional authentication and grading, they waited nervously for 6 weeks until the results came back. And when Margaret opened that registered mail package and saw the certification label reading 1977 D Jefferson Nickel MS 68 full steps die variety, followed by an estimated auction value that brought tears to her eyes, she realized that her simple habit of saving interesting coins had resulted in a discovery that would not only secure her own financial future, but would also provide inheritance funds for her children and grandchildren that she never dreamed possible. The specific characteristics that make certain 1977 Jefferson nickels worth millions include several technical factors that serious collectors examine with microscopic precision. First, there's the presence or absence of the mint mark and whether it shows any signs of being partially visible, overpolished, or completely missing when it should be there. Second, there's the strike quality, which encompasses not just the full steps on Monticello, but also the sharpness of Jefferson's hair details, the clarity of the word liberty, the definition of the date numerals, and the overall depth of relief across the entire coin. Third, There's the surface preservation, which means the coin must be free from bag marks, contact marks, carbon spots, toning issues, or any evidence of cleaning or artificial enhancement. And fourth, there's the eye appeal, which is somewhat subjective but refers to the overall aesthetic beauty of the coin, including its luster pattern, color uniformity, and the way light plays across its surfaces. When all of these factors align perfectly in a single 1977 Jefferson nickel, you have a coin that transcends its 5-cent face value and becomes a genuine work of art, a piece of American history, and a tangible store of value that appreciates exponentially as the years pass and fewer examples remain available to collectors. The market dynamics surrounding 1977 Jefferson nickels are absolutely fascinating from an economic perspective because unlike stocks, bonds, or real estate, the supply of these coins is absolutely fixed and can only decrease over time as specimens are lost, damaged, or removed from the market by collectors who have no